All Alabama Gardener. In this video, I'm showing you how I pot up many plants. Now in my gardening effort, you often see me doing potting up. So here's about, well, let's see, I think there's 10 in a row, and there's 2, 4, 6, about 8 rows. So it's close to 70, 80 plants, pots right there. And we're ready to do some potting up today. So I'm going to show you what is involved in doing that. All right, so you hear me talking often about potting plants up. And so today I'm going to pot up, let me show you first, this tray of sweet bell pepper. So you can see that these are sweet pepper, they're California Wonder. I started the seed on the 27th of February in wet paper towel in a Ziploc bag. And then on the 7th of March, they were sprouting, so I took them out of the wet paper towel and put them into soil blocks and in this tray over here. And now today's the 7th of April, so I'm going to pot them up. And I'm going to show you the very details of what I do when I pot things up. So when you're potting up, I use a potting soil that I make up. I'll put the link to the potting soil in the description box below this video. Now, the potting soil doesn't have any fertilizer in it. So, if you want them plants to do well, you're going to have to give them some fertilizer. And I'm going to give them a little bit of a fertilizer called Triple 13. That's just a balanced fertilizer. I'm going to put much in. Probably a tablespoon, as you can see right there. We'll put that down the bottom. Now to give it a little bit more of a boost, we'll put some worm castings in. Now most of your potting soil is not going to have any minerals in it. We might call them micro trace minerals. So this is a product called azomite, and the AZ means A to Z, and then the rest of it is just minerals, okay? So the potting soil looks like this. Like I said, it doesn't have any fertilizer, doesn't have any minerals in it, or if there is, it's very little. So what we got to do is we got to add some minerals to it. So I'm going to put them directly into the pot here, and we don't need much. Probably a tablespoon at the most. So here we are. It's a very fine powder. Put that in there, mix it around a little bit. All right, so now we're ready for a plant. So here's a plant. It's in a soil block. So we're getting ready to go into here. So what I do is I put some soil in, some potting mix I mean, and to bring this up a little bit. Then we'll carefully set our plant there. Fill in around it like that, and that's all there is to it, except one more step. You got to water it. So when it comes to gardening, anytime you do something, whether it's planting a seed, potting it up, or actually setting it in the garden, the final thing is always to water it. Always water it. That really helps it to live and to go on doing what you want it to do. Now you see, potting up plants, all of them are almost the same. There are some varying differences though, and tomatoes is one of them. So you watch me now as I pot these tomatoes, you'll see that I set them very deep in the pot. And that's because the tomato can grow roots along the stem of the plant and thereby be more strong. Now here's a tray of Sweet 100 tomatoes. And you can see they're probably a foot tall, maybe, close to it. And they're growing in a shallow tray, and they'll be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to pot them up. We're going to put in some triple 13 fertilizer. Put in a little bit of azomite. And then we'll get a plant out here. Now on tomatoes, you want to plant them deep. So I'm going to take off that stem, or that leaf, this leaf, and this leaf, and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so now you see I've got it sitting down deep in this pot, so I'm going to try to give you an idea. So I'm going that much deeper, which is about maybe 4 inches, 5 inches deeper than what it was growing in the tray. And we'll fill it up. Now you're correct, I didn't put any worm castings in the tomato plant pot. But I will do that when I set that tomato plant in the garden. And you'll see me do that at that time. And there we go. Only thing left to do is water it. Now okra is a warm weather plant. And if you live in a cold climate and you want to grow okra, then maybe potting up the way I'm showing you is the way to do it. Start your seeds early and pot them up and hold them in a warm environment until your weather gets ready to set them in the ground. So I planted these seeds on the 7th of March. Now today's the 7th of April, so I'm going to pot them up. So it's the same process. Put in some fertilizer, and I'm using triple 13 in the bottom of the pot. Put in a little bit of azomite. I'm not going to put any worm castings in right now, but I'll do that when I set them in the garden. So we're going to do the same thing. A little bit of triple 13. A little bit of azomite. Mix that around a little bit. Put a little bit more soil on top of it. And now we need to get us a plant. Now you'll notice I'm not planting it deep like I did the tomatoes. Just a little bit deeper than the soil block. So now we're going to pot up cucumbers. Started these seed on the 20th of March. I'm going to pot them up today on 7th of April. And here's what the tray looks like. Alright, going to be doing the same thing. A little bit of triple 13. A little bit of azomite. Stir it around a little bit. Soil blocks, look at all the nice roots. Now we're going to pot up yellow crookneck squash. Here's the tray. I guess there's the tag in there. Yeah, there's a tag. So I planted them on the 10th of March. And now it's the 7th of April. And I'm getting ready to pot them up. First thing we're going to do is put in a little bit of triple 13 fertilizer. And then we're going to put in a little bit of azomite. Not much, but let's just sprinkle. A little bit of soil on top of that. Now we're ready for a plant. So here's a squash plant. Now I'll show you a couple things about this one. There's a nice bloom coming out right there. But it's a male bloom. And that's okay because the male blooms come first. There's another one right there. There's another one right there. Another one right there. And I can't see if there's any female blooms, but they'll be coming along. So now we can take this yellow leaf off. We don't need it anymore. And now we're ready to go in a pot. And there we are, all potted up, ready to bloom, ready to grow. That's what I really should be saying. So we'll put the tag in this pot. So here's all of our potting up that we did yesterday. And even though they might have looked a little droopy yesterday, now they're perking up. And they'll perk up more and they'll really begin to grow. Here's the tomatoes. That's the bell pepper I potted up. Here's the tomatoes that I potted up. And you notice on this one right there, we got a bloom cluster. And there's some blooms starting to form on others. So they'll be coming along pretty soon. Now over here is okra that we potted up yesterday. This is cucumbers that we potted up yesterday. And this is squash that we potted up yesterday.